Look, I'm a simple man. I like my coffee black, my lawn a little wild, and my peace and quiet. When my wife, Sarah, and I bought the house at 12 Oak Knoll Drive, we thought we'd found our forever home. It was in a quiet cul-de-sac, backed onto a few acres of woods, and had a charm you don't find in new builds. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a woman named Carol. Carol, with a C, as she would later inform me in a terse email correcting a community newsletter. She was the president of the Oak Knoll Covenant Association, or OKCA. The name sounds friendly, like a neighborhood watch that bakes cookies. It was not. She arrived at our door holding a 3-ring binder that could have stopped a bullet. Her smile was as sharp as the crease in her khaki capris. "Welcome to Oak Knoll. I'm Carol, your HOA president," she chirped. "This is your copy of the covenants, conditions, and restrictions. We like to think of them as our community's recipe for harmony." I should have known then. Any group that compares legally binding documents to a recipe is planning to cook you. I skimmed the binder that night. It was a masterpiece of micromanagement. Article 7, Section B, lawn ornamentation is limited to 1 tasteful birdbath per property. All other figurines, statuary, and whimsical pieces are expressly forbidden. Article 9, Section D, mailboxes must be of the approved heritage model in forest green. No deviations in color, style, or size are permitted. Article 12, Section A, exterior paint colors must be selected from the pre-approved Oak Knoll Earth Tone palette. Samples available upon request. I sighed, showed Sarah, and we filed it away. How bad could it be? My daughter, Lily, is 8. For her birthday, her grandmother gave her a beautiful, hand-painted ceramic garden gnome. His name was Barnaby. He had a cheerful red hat and held a tiny lantern. Lily adored him. We placed him proudly by our front flower bed. A little spot of joy. The violation notice arrived 48 hours later. It was on crisp, official letterhead. Official notice of covenant violation. Property, 12 Oak Knoll Drive. Owner Mark and Sarah. Infraction. Article 7, Section B, prohibited lawn ornamentation. Description. 1. Unapproved, non-birdbath figurine, commonly referred to as a gnome, observed on premises. Action required. Remove the offending item within 24 hours. Fine. $75. Additional fines of $25 per day will accrue until compliance is verified. I was baffled. I called Carol. "Hi, Carol. Mark from number 12. I got your notice about the gnome. It's just a small gift for my daughter. Surely this is a misunderstanding." Her voice was syrup and steel. "Oh, Mark, the rules are very clear. It's about preserving property values. We can't have the neighborhood looking like a cartoon carnival. Remove the gnome and we'll waive the fine." To avoid a fight, I moved Barnaby to our fenced-in backyard. I sent Carol a polite email informing her of the relocation. Her one-word reply, "Noted." I thought that was the end of it. Oh, my sweet summer child. The next violation was for our mailbox. After a particularly icy winter, a snowplow had nicked it, leaving a small dent. I replaced it with an identical heritage model in forest green from the local hardware store. The letter came. Official notice of covenant violation.
Infraction, article 9, section D, non-conforming mailbox.
Description. Mailbox, while model correct, is of an incorrect shade. Color is hunter green. Not approved, forest green. Creates visual dissonance.
Fine. $150.
They had a color swatch for mailboxes. A swatch. Then came the one for the excessive dandelion population in my lawn, $100. Then one for my wife's non-earth tone floral wreath on the front door, $125, which was deemed a seasonal eyesore. Each time I pushed back, Carol's emails grew colder. The fines piled up. I paid none of them. A Cold War had begun, and I was running out of diplomatic options. That's when I shifted from annoyed homeowner to amateur detective. My name is Mark, and I'm an archivist. My whole job is finding needles in historical haystacks. Carol had just challenged me to my favorite game. I started a digital case file. Every notice was scanned. Every email was saved. And I began a deep dive into the OKCA's own founding documents, which I obtained from the county clerk's office for a small fee. The original covenants were from 1978. They were strict but reasonable. But as I read, I noticed something peculiar. The most absurd, petty rules, the gnome ban, the mailbox swatch, the dandelion count were all amendments, added in the last 5 years. Coincidentally, the exact time frame of Carol's presidency. I also found the original plat maps for the subdivision. And that's when I found it. The golden ticket. Oak Knoll was built on a former farm. The original farmhouse and its 10-acre parcel were never part of the initial HOA filing. The developer had kept it for himself, and it was later sold off. According to the map, my property, 12 Oak Knoll Drive, wasn't just a house on a lot. My deed included the 1-acre parcel my house sat on plus the 2-acre wooded strip behind it that ran all the way to the old creek bed. The HOA covenants specifically covered lots 1 to 50 of the Oak Knoll subdivision. My wooded strip was designated on the county tax map as Parcel B. It was never part of the HOA. They had no jurisdiction over it. A slow, confident smile spread across my face. But I wasn't ready to play my ace. Not yet. I needed to see how far the rabbit hole went. The final straw was Lily's treehouse. Using wood from the fallen branches in our wooded, non-HOA parcel, I built her a small, rustic platform fort in the big oak tree at the edge of our property. It was her castle. She spent hours up there reading. 2 days after its completion, I came home from work to find a police cruiser in my driveway and my daughter in tears. A nosy neighbor, Barbara, Carol's chief lieutenant, had called the cops, reporting an unsafe, unpermitted structure that was blighting the neighborhood. I calmly explained to the officer that it was on my private property, built with my own materials, for my child. He was exasperated. "Sir, I'm sorry, but we get these calls all the time from this neighborhood. You folks need to sort your stuff out." As he drove away, I saw Carol and Barbara standing on Carol's perfectly manicured lawn, watching the whole thing with folded arms. That was it. The war was on. The OKCA annual meeting was held in the community clubhouse. It was packed. Carol sat at the head table, gavel in hand, looking like a judge about to pass sentence on the entire neighborhood. She went through the minutes, the budget, and then opened the floor for violation discussions. My name was first on her list. "Mr. Henderson," she began, her voice dripping with faux sympathy, "we have a significant backlog of fines with your property. The gnome, the mailbox, the dandelions, the unapproved wreath, and now this tree fort. The board is prepared to place a lien on your home if these matters are not resolved." The room was silent. All eyes were on me. I stood up, holding my own binder. It was thicker than hers. "Thank you, Carol. I have a few things to discuss as well." I walked to the front and plugged a thumb drive into the projector. "First, let's talk about leadership and hypocrisy." I clicked to a photo of Carol's own house. "Carol, your gazebo. Beautiful. But according to Article 11, Section C, all permanent structures require architectural committee approval. The meeting minutes from the last 3 years show no such approval was ever sought or granted for this gazebo." Her face went pale. I clicked again. "And your fence, 6 feet tall. The covenant maximum is 4 feet for side yards. Another unapproved structure." I clicked again, showing a screenshot of a real estate listing. "And Barbara," I said, turning to the nosy neighbor, "I see you've been renting your house on Airbnb. Article 15 clearly prohibits rentals of less than 30 days. The room began to buzz. "I had them. But all of that," I said, pausing for effect, "is just neighborhood gossip compared to my main point. You have no authority over me." Carol scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. Everyone here is subject to the covenants." I clicked to the final slide. The original 1978 plat map, with my property outlined in bold red. According to the original filing with the county, the OKCA covenants only apply to lots 1 through 50. The 2-acre wooded parcel attached to my deed, parcel B, was explicitly excluded. My treehouse, which you called the police about, is on parcel B. You have zero jurisdiction. I turned to the stunned audience. Furthermore, if the HOA's leadership is so ignorant of its own foundational boundaries, and so eager to enforce rules they themselves break, then what are we even doing here? I move that we dissolve this entire, petty organization. The room erupted. It turned out I wasn't the only one with a stack of unjust fines. The dam broke. People stood up, yelling, sharing their own stories of Carol's tyranny. In the end, it was a legal rout. My lawyer sent a single letter to the HOA's board, citing the property boundaries and their own fraudulent enforcement. The threat of a lawsuit they would inevitably lose was enough. Carol was immediately voted out as president. The entire board resigned in disgrace. The new board, which I reluctantly joined for a single term, spent its first meeting doing two things: voiding every single aesthetic fine issued in the last 5 years, beginning the lengthy process of formally dissolving the Oak Knoll Covenant Association. It turned out most people hated the rules as much as I did. Without Carol's iron fist, the will to maintain the dictatorship evaporated. Barnaby the gnome now stands proudly by my front door, wearing a tiny HOA-approved badge my daughter made for him. My mailbox is still hunter green, and my lawn has a healthy population of dandelions that Lily loves to blow into the wind. The treehouse still stands, a fortress of freedom in the once tyrannized lands of Oak Knoll. The best part? The petty rules are gone. The neighborhood doesn't look like a slum. It looks like a place where people actually live. It's happier, louder, more colorful. Sometimes, to win a war against a Karen, you don't need to fight on her terms. You just need to own the land she's standing on. And never, ever forget to read the fine print.